everybody. Welcome back to Valley of the Mist Block of the Month. I'm Adriane Ritter.
And I'm Shelley McNeely.
And we are here today to do our August block for 2020. And like most of our blocks this year, there's no name.
No name. We just make them up.
We just make them up. Okay, so number one, please go on the Valley of the Mist website and download a copy of the instructions, just because as I was editing last month's video, I realized sometimes we kind of gloss over some of the basics, but you know, we're here to get you through the tough parts.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Okay, so get those instructions, which you don't have to keep then rewinding, whatever, to find the sizes.
Right, and it might clear up some issues. You never know.
Yeah, in case we forget major things. Anyway, so you can see the blocks right here. They're pretty simple. We're kind of giving you guys easy this summer.
All right. At least we're trying.
We're trying. All right. So Shelley's going to go over first what fabrics we need.
Okay.
I'll leave mine up there.
So we have focus fabric this year, same one. It's all year, which was from In the Beginnings, and it's the Western Washington Shop Hop from 2018 or 2017. It's kind of confusing, but yeah.
Because we know it says on the selvage is 2017, but it was really the 2018.
Yeah.
But
chances are you can't buy it anywhere anyway. So. Okay, then there's a coordinating fabric, which is a fabric
something that she sees in here.
Right. This time I'm going to use a yellow. And then, as always, a black and a white.
Okay. And how much fabric do we need? This time we made it easy. We told them. We're telling them how much.
You're right, which is pretty good for what we're doing this year. Okay, we need 11 pieces, and each piece needs to be cut 3 1/4 by 6 3/4. And one of the pieces is focus fabric, and then you can pick at least one of each of the colors. Obviously, you're going to need most of them, to fill up your 11 pieces.
Yeah. So. And I'll tell you, because if you're making, like we always encourage you to make 2 blocks. So if you are planning on making 2 blocks, then on one of the blocks, like the first block, think about it like you're making with 12 pieces. It would be one way to think of it, because then you can mix them up.
Right.
Okay. And I'll explain that right now. That'll be my job right now. So basically what we do is we take our pieces and you're gonna take them and you're gonna put them into stacks. And the stacks, you could do all of them in one stack if you wanted. I think that would be a lot to cut, and it would be a little boring.
Yeah, yeah.
But you just have to. You're gonna take, and what I did was I took each of my whatever color I had a lot of. And I just picked and I put another fabric with each one, okay? So that I got 12. I got
6.
I did it with 6 stacks. This one will be with 5, but it could be with. I'm stumbling here because, to be honest, when I first made this, it was too big, so I had to take off half a block. That's why we're at 11 blocks. So you're gonna need to mix these up because you want different colors. Oh, see, I didn't even mix them up good. You are gonna take and you're gonna cut these in half, and then you're gonna sew them back together. But you're gonna sew them back together with don't anymore. Okay, with different halves. Okay, so like here.
This is show them. Might be easier.
I will. But like this was a block, and there's another one on here that's the same piece that I cut, and then I move them, and I'll show you. Okay, so let me just do it with my focus fabric. So I've layered it with this one, and we want you to just, one of our favorite things, notice I stacked them right sides up. You need to stack them all right sides up or right sides down. They have to be the same. And I could do all of them at once, but I'm going to suggest, if you're not very comfortable with cutting a lot, then just do 2. And you are going to just free cut. Pick the wrong rotary cutter. This is my left-handed rotary cutter. And you're just going to make a cut, kind of making some curve in it if you want. I like curves. See, I did that. And now I have 2 stacks, and I just take and I reverse them. Or I put the one on top on the bottom. If you're doing it with, like, say 4 together, just take the top one and move it to the bottom. And that pushes everything up, so now you're sewing 2 different fabrics together with the same curve. Okay, now we did sewing like this last year. We did this curved piecing. And I don't want you to be intimidated by it, because we are not sewing together concrete blocks. We're sewing together fabric. And fabric moves.
That's
You
true.
can, I mean, I know they tell you on your bias seams, be very careful, don't distort them. But on this little bit of a curve, you can move it to where it needs to be, and you're just going to sew them back together. The other suggestion I want to make when you're sewing these curves, if you have a 1/4 inch foot on your machine that has the edge that's covered, I would not use that right now. I mean, you want to do a 1/4 inch seam. You don't have to be perfect, because we have allowed for some extra. But you want a foot that you can see what you're sewing through, and those ones are kind of covered.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to take and you're going to line up the top 2 edges, and you're just going to put that under there, and you're going to sew kind of slowly. And as I go down, I just keep kind of edging that. When I get to a curve like that, I'm just edging it around. You just kind of ease it around a little bit, you know, kind of like we used to have to do in sewing collars on a shirt. It's just, you know, moving that edge a little bit at a time. And at the bottom, it may or may not end up exactly right, but we've allowed a little bit extra in the length, so that you should be fine. See, now if I did that, I'd be off by like a 1/4 inch at the bottom, but I'd be okay. So you're going to sew those pieces back together, and then we will move on to the next step, right?
What do you want to tell them about the 11th piece?
Okay, yes, all right. I forgot. Okay, so this 11th piece, I would suggest that you can cut it separately from the others. That one I would not make a super extreme curve in, because you're just going to cut it off. It's an edge. You want to put that piece on an edge. So pick a piece of fabric color. So probably don't make that be your focus fabric, but you're going to want it to be one of these end pieces. Okay, so mine was probably this purple.
So in this step, you don't just cut it, don't
Just
sew
cut
it.
it. Just cut it, don't sew it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you can, if you aren't going to stack it on with another set and cut it with them, you can leave it to the end. You don't even have to cut it apart right now. You can just leave that 11th piece,
And that can be any color.
any of the colors. It could be the focus fabric. It can be whatever you want. But basically, I'm not trying to give it away, but we're going to cut them in half, kind of, sew them back together, and then we're going to arrange them into this block. So right now we're going to go away. We're going to cut our rectangles. We're going to cut them in half. And like I said, if you want to keep it simple, I mean, I don't know if you can tell that easy. Mine have a little deeper curves. Shelley's are,
Mine are
in
shallower.
my opinion, Shelley's are straight.
But they're
she
not.
says they're curved.
Because they are actually, if they aren't a deep curve, it's easier to sew back together, and if that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
it's fine.
You don't have to do curves. I just like the curvy look. If you just want straight, that's fine.
And another thing, when you sew in the curves, if you sew slow, you can ease it in pretty easily. Just don't try to be whipping through it.
Right. And actually, the other step we want you to do before we come back is press them. And unless you do an extreme curve, you don't have to clip any of the seams. You can see on mine, on the back, see now I'm revealing all the mysteries of my sewing. You know, there's the curves there. You just press them out. They'll press. They're fine. It's, like I said, it's not concrete. It's fabric. It will press. Use some steam. Press it to submission. That's our favorite. So you're going to press them to the darker fabric. This pressing doesn't matter, because the chances of them meeting another seam when we sew the halves together are pretty pretty slim because
might,
they might, but they really probably won't because your ends and tops will be different.
Right. So you're starting with 10 pieces. Because I'm skipping the 11th odd one. You're starting with 10 and you're going to end with 10 when we come back.
Yes, because you're going to sew them back together.
Yeah.
So then you will end up with pieces like that are together again, but they'll be like this. They won't be the same fabrics together. Okay? So let's go do that. Be careful with your rotary cutters because you don't have a ruler. And just sew slow and it'll be easy. Okay. Okay, so we have sewn our rectangles back together, which I'm going to tell you, apparently I never explained that to Shelley, that they were supposed to come back looking like rectangles, but they are. They don't, I mean, because you stretch them, so they don't exactly. I mean, you don't stretch them, you finagle them.
Right.
But the idea was roughly to get you back to having rectangular pieces that were about 3 inches, 2 3/4 inches by 6.5 inches.
Right.
Left. Okay. So we're back. We have our pieces. So now the easy part. Now this is just you laying them out and figuring out how you like your block to look. Now we put a focus in each half. You don't have to do that. You could put both of your focus rectangles in one half. The only requirement is that your 11th piece, which we told you not even to worry about cutting, but mine is cut because actually I made 2 blocks and these are the leftover halves and I took one of each. I had to have an odd block for each of my blocks, my finished blocks, and I cut it kind of down the middle roughly. And to be honest, the curve on this one doesn't even matter. You can cut it straight because it's going on the outer edge and you're going to trim it off. You know, I trimmed them. So the curve doesn't matter at all.
What I did is, because I didn't bring it over here, but I used one of my coordinating fabrics. I folded it in half, looked at the fold, and cut up the fold.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely that 11th block does not have to be curvy. Okay, this is going to be too short a video, and we don't like to give you guys that easy a time. we like to talk. Anyway, so I'm going to give you some other advice that I forgot to share. Some words of Adriane wisdom.
Oh boy.
Okay, when you're sewing those curves, if you're having trouble, like we recommended before, don't do double, triple curve. Okay, keep it simple. A curve like this, even though it's bigger, is way easier to do than one that goes squiggly. Or like, let's look at any of Shelley's. They probably have almost no curve.
I
but that's
put
fine.
more curve this time.
Okay.
So
just if you're not comfortable, you don't have to have a lot of curve. You just, I think it'd be hard without a ruler to cut it totally straight.
Right.
So it'll have some curve.
Just how comfortable you feel doing curves.
When you're sewing them, like we said, go slow. The other thing is use your needle down feature because it's very hard to finagle those seams if you don't keep the needle down when you list the presser foot. So use that needle down feature. This is your friend right now. And although I'm not comfortable, I have never gotten the hang of it. Long story short, when we grew up, we sewed on a sewing machine, a Singer sewing machine that had a knee presser foot. You controlled the speed of the sewing with your knee. So now the sewing machines that have that lifter with your knee, I can't get used to it. I still think I'm trying.
That's for sewing.
That's for sewing. It's like, it'd be like telling me, the steering wheel is now the gas pedal. I can't do that. So anyway, creature of habit here. So, but if you have that knee lifter, that might, opening that with your knee a little bit, and you're good at it, that might be helpful with sewing these curves.
Right. Never even thought about that, but true. Yeah.
And then the other thing, I thought, just when I sat down just now, I thought, you know what? I've got a lot of feet for my sewing machine. I bet I have one that I can see even better with. And so I switched it, and I put on my F foot, which I think it said it was their satin stitch foot. But it's, very clear, very open. No, it's not it's meant for satin stitching. And there's something that they do to design it, so it's for that. It's not for this. So you're better off using your utility basic foot that your machine comes with, because it holds down the fabric nicely and it doesn't guide it weird or whatever. I don't know. I don't know why the satin foot didn't work. I could see better,
Never used it, so I don't know.
But it was not guiding the fabric, so I could do my little manipulations. Anyway, so what we're going to do, you're going to take, and you have 10 of these full rectangles, and you're going to arrange them 5 on one row, 5 on the bottom row, sew them across, and then add the extra piece at the end. I definitely lay them out. Funny story, we were sewing our sample blocks last night, and Shelley's like, yeah, I'm ad-libbing. She's going to deny it. Why do I make a pattern when I don't follow it? It's something like that. Because basically she sat down to sew them back together and she got them in the wrong order. Didn't she?
Well, yeah, because I arranged them. You know how you arrange and you think you put your blocks in the order you're going to sew them, and then somehow or another when you come back, they aren't in the order that you sewed them.
So me, I take a picture and I sit there with my camera on my phone on my lap, and I refer to it every time I'm going to sew one. Am I sewing the right two together? Yeah. Just do whatever you're comfortable with.
But you know what? It doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah. I mean, mine on this one, I really tried to mix things up, but when it came down to it, you've only got four fabrics.
Yeah.
And you've mixed them up, so it's hard. I mean, Shelley's like, I definitely didn't put 2 of the same color together. I even managed, except for right here, to not put 2 of the same color.
See, that's what I was.
And you did. Oh, you
well,
have a couple
I did,
whites.
but I originally was going to put a focus on either end, and then to make it so they weren't. It ended up being close together, which is fine. It doesn't matter.
And really, you're, at the end, we're going to have to trim some off of one end. And really, none of these fabrics is any more precious than the other.
No.
But in my mind, I always feel like our focus fabric is more precious.
Right.
So I never put it all the way on the end because I don't want to trim any of it off.
That's very true.
But it really isn't any more precious. So, okay, so let's arrange those in the 2 rows and check where you're going to put that extra piece to make sure it doesn't mess up
so
your
we're going
colors.
to come back with 2 rows is the idea here? Or what?
Sure, let's come back with 2 rows.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so we're back. We both have 2 halves. The only thing at this point, I do want to mention, I laid mine out and I looked at the layout with them in this order.
Right.
Actually, I laid them in and they looked in the other order. And then I realized on, which piece was it? Oh, it was this one where I saw it afterwards. I noticed that these purples match. Mm-hmm. And it was so they don't match exactly because the cut. But when I had them the other way, this piece of purple was real little. And I like the other look better. So that's one choice. You can still make a switch those at the end.
That's true. Yeah.
I have my half block. I definitely could. Oh, or you could turn them over. The other thing I was going to mention is that so when you hold up your pieces, your top and bottom edges are not going to be exactly straight because when we sewed together those weird pieces, you get some funny things hanging off. So one way to approach that is to look at your 2 straighter edges and sew those 2 together. Or what I actually did was, this one's not that bad. That one's pretty close. Let me look at this one. So this one's got more jaggies. It's got this indent right here. I took a ruler, and I don't want you to cut off a lot, but if that's the edge you're going to sew with, then, kind of line it up, and you kind of need 2 straight edges to sew these together. So they don't have to be perfectly straight.
But
you
the
want
straighter makes it easier to match.
Yeah, so I would probably lay it on here and trim off that little bit that you're seeing above there, just to make it easier to sew together. We did, like I said, we allowed for a little extra at the end. Was there anything else you could think of, Shelley?
Nope.
Shelley did once again struggle with keeping them in order. I'm just tattling on her. But apparently it worked out fine.
Yep.
It worked out fine. Okay, so we are gonna now sew these two halves together, and when we come back, we'll show you our finished blocks. Like normal, we'll have one of us trim it and one of us not trim it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we're back. This was very easy, this last step. So
It was.
you guys are good. You know,
But we felt like we had to talk some more. So.
we did. You know, being quarantined,
Yes.
I mean, I do still go to work, so I'm not as quarantined as Shelley. But it was a nice break making quilt blocks instead of face masks.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so Shelley, let's show them your square up. I squared mine.
Right.
And the interesting thing is these are the exact same fabrics on the two. Normally I use two different coordinating fabrics, but look how different they look.
Yeah.
So, all right, and
So here we go, and there's
I mean,
plenty.
There's plenty top. There's plenty.
Yes.
There should be plenty on all the sides.
Yeah, really.
I trimmed off. I'm looking at my trimmings over there. I trimmed off probably a 1/4 inch from the top and the bottom, even after I straightened out two of the sides.
I think it's probably close to that on mine here.
Yeah. And then the edges was maybe a little more.
Yeah.
So okay, so we're saying this block is due in September. Obviously,
We don't know.
we don't know for sure if we will be having a guild meeting in September. Let's hope we are.
Right.
We will keep you updated on that. So basically, even though we're going to give you a due date for the blocks, try to adhere to that so you don't rushed at the last minute to do all your blocks. But they will be due at the next meeting.
And it could
Whether
be
it's September.
extravaganza for sure.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, normally our September meetings are block
It
of the
is.
month extravaganza.
This could be really a bonus.
Right,
One. Who
because
knows?
in September we will have 4 blocks due at this point. No,
Oh, it might be more.
5 because we didn't have the April meeting.
Yes.
Okay, so we already have 5 blocks due.
Yeah.
So keep up with it, everybody. Keep making your quilts. Keep making your blocks. You can see my block of the month is off the design wall because I actually quilted it.
Oh, yes.
Do I have it bound? No, but it's quilted. So we thought we'll just put up all the blocks from this year. So that was good. Okay, so we will see you next month. Keep quilting and keep healthy.
Yes.
All right.